Beloved friends, many people work hard, pray sincerely, and still feel stuck financially. They ask, why does money slip through my hands? Why do opportunities come to others and not to me? Our sages teach us that lack is not always about effort. Often, it is about blockages, spiritual, emotional, and mental barriers that prevent blessing from flowing freely into our lives. Financial struggle is often caused by spiritual and emotional blockages rather than a lack of effort, and this truth is difficult for many people to accept because we are taught to measure success only by action, strategy, and persistence. People work long hours, acquire skills, seek advice, and still feel as though something invisible is holding them back. According to Rabbi Eliyahu's teachings, this is not coincidence and it is not punishment. It is a sign that the channel of blessing is restricted, not at the level of effort, but at the level of alignment. Money, like all forms of sustenance, is a flow. When a river is blocked upstream, no matter how thirsty the land below is, water will not reach it until the obstruction is removed. In the same way, financial effort without spiritual openness can feel exhausting and fruitless. Judaism teaches that sustenance is determined in heaven, but delivered on earth through vessels. A person can work endlessly, but if the inner vessel is cracked by fear, doubt, guilt, or resentment, the blessing leaks out as quickly as it arrives. Rabbi Eliyahu, who explains that emotional states are not separate from material outcomes. Anxiety tightens the soul. Despair closes the heart. Constant worry sends a silent message of mistrust. These inner conditions create spiritual resistance, making it difficult for abundance to settle and remain. This is why two people can work equally hard and experience completely different financial realities. Psalms address this hidden dimension. King David wrote them not from comfort, but from pressure, danger, loss, and uncertainty. He understood what it meant to feel blocked and surrounded. Each psalm carries a frequency of trust, humility, and surrender. When a person recites a psalm sincerely, they are not informing God of their problems. God already knows. They are reshaping themselves into someone who can receive help without fear and sustain blessing without panic. This inner transformation is the true removal of the financial block. Many people mistakenly believe that financial problems are solved by asking for more money. Rabbi Eliyahu, who teaches that the wiser prayer is to ask for a clear channel. Money that enters a blocked vessel creates stress, conflict, and loss. Money that enters an open vessel creates peace, creativity, and stability. Psalms do not beg for wealth. They cultivate trust. Trust is the foundation upon which lasting provision is built. When a person trusts that their sustenance is guided and purposeful, they stop making desperate decisions that sabotage long-term success. Another hidden blockage is the belief of unworthiness. Many people carry subconscious guilt, shame, or feelings of inferiority that whisper, "Others deserve more than you." This belief quietly repels opportunity. Psalms counter this by reaffirming the soul's connection to the Creator. When you recite words spoken by King David, you align yourself with a lineage of faith, struggle, and redemption. You remember that your value is not measured by your bank account, and paradoxically, this remembrance often becomes the turning point that allows financial growth to begin. Reciting a psalm also interrupts the mental noise that fuels financial stress. Constant calculation, comparison, and fear create a loop that drains energy and blocks creativity. Psalms slow the mind and return it to perspective. In that stillness, new ideas arise. Solutions that were invisible suddenly feel obvious. This is not coincidence. When fear quiets, wisdom has room to speak. Many people discover that after consistent recitation, they are guided toward better decisions, healthier partnerships, and opportunities they previously ignored or dismissed. Rabbi Eliyahu, who emphasizes that effort and faith must walk together. Psalms are not an escape from responsibility, They are a preparation for it. When inner resistance is removed, effort becomes effective, work becomes focused instead of frantic, decisions become strategic instead of reactive. The same actions that once produced little suddenly yield results because the person performing them is no longer internally divided. Over time, this practice reshapes a person's relationship with money itself. Instead of seeing money as a source of fear or control, they begin to see it as a tool entrusted to them for good. This shift is crucial because money resists being idolized or feared. It flows most naturally to those who respect it without worshiping it and use it without clinging to it. Psalms cultivate exactly this balanced state of mind. In conclusion, financial blockages are rarely just external circumstances. They are often reflections of inner tension, mistrust, and emotional congestion that restrict the flow of blessing. Reciting a psalm with sincerity does not magically create wealth, but it removes the invisible barriers that prevent wealth from arriving and remaining. By restoring trust, calming fear, and realigning the soul with its source, the psalm transforms the individual into a clear vessel for sustenance. When the vessel is ready, the flow follows naturally, in the right form, at the right time, and with lasting peace. The book of Psalms is not symbolic poetry, but a living spiritual force encoded in sacred language, and when recited with intention, it opens channels of mercy and sustenance that have existed since the time of King David. Many people read Psalms as comforting words, but Rabbi Eliyahu, who teaches that they are far more than emotional reassurance. Each psalm was written through divine inspiration at moments of extreme pressure, clarity, and connection. King David did not write from theory. He wrote from lived experience, hunted, betrayed, crowned, humbled, and restored. This is why the words carry power. They were forged in truth, and truth penetrates every barrier, including those that block financial flow. In Jewish tradition, speech is creative. The world itself was created through divine speech, and human speech, when aligned with holiness, participates in that creative force. Psalms are structured speech, carefully formed words that realign spiritual energy. When a person recites a psalm aloud, they are not merely expressing desire. They are activating a spiritual process. Rabbi Eliyahu, who explains that these words create harmony between the upper and lower worlds, allowing divine kindness to descend in a form that can be received without harm or chaos. This is especially important in matters of money, which carry both blessing and danger depending on how they enter a person's life. Financial pressure often awakens harsh judgment, fear narrows the mind, and desperation invites imbalance. Psalms soften these forces. They awaken compassion both above and within the individual. When judgment softens, pathways reopen. This is why Psalms are often described as gates. They do not force outcomes, they allow them. They do not override free will, they align it. A person reciting Psalms with sincerity becomes less reactive and more receptive, which is essential for sustainable provision. Intention is the key that unlocks this power. Rabbi Eliyahu, who emphasizes that intention does not mean intense emotion or dramatic pleading. It means presence. It means knowing before whom you stand. When a person recites a psalm while distracted, rushed, or resentful, the words remain on the lips but do not fully enter the heart. But when recited slowly, with awareness, the words settle into the soul and begin to work quietly, often in ways the person does not immediately recognize. This inner work is subtle but profound. It adjusts perspective, softens rigidity, and restores humility, which is the true foundation of blessing. Many financial blockages stem from arrogance or control, even when it appears as insecurity. A person may believe, consciously or unconsciously, that everything depends on their own strength. Psalms dismantle this illusion gently. They remind the soul that sustenance comes from partnership, not domination. This shift is liberating. When a person releases the burden of total control, stress decreases and wisdom increases. Decisions improve because they are no longer fueled by panic or ego, but by clarity and trust. The recitation of Psalms also creates continuity. Money struggles often feel chaotic, with unpredictable highs and lows. Psalms introduce rhythm and stability. When recited daily, they anchor the soul in consistency, which is essential for financial growth. Rabbi Eliyahu, who teaches that blessing prefers order, a disciplined spiritual practice signals readiness. It shows that the person can receive without becoming overwhelmed or careless. This is why consistency is emphasized more than intensity. Small, steady alignment produces greater results than sporadic emotional outbursts. Over time, Psalms reshape a person's internal dialogue. Instead of constant worry about lack, the mind becomes trained to recall divine support. This does not eliminate challenges, but it changes how they are experienced. Challenges become invitations rather than threats. A person who trusts is more likely to take inspired risks, notice subtle opportunities, and recover quickly from setbacks. These traits are essential for financial success, yet they cannot be forced through strategy alone. They grow naturally through spiritual alignment. Another powerful effect of Psalms is gratitude. Many Psalms are expressions of thanks even before deliverance arrives. This teaches the soul to appreciate what exists rather than obsess over what is missing. Gratitude expands the vessel. When a person appreciates what they have, they demonstrate the capacity to hold more. Complaining, on the other hand, contracts the vessel. Rabbi Eliyahu, who teaches that heaven responds not only to requests but to readiness. Gratitude is proof of readiness. In conclusion, the second key point reveals that Psalms are not passive words, but active spiritual instruments designed to open channels of mercy and sustenance. When recited with intention, presence, and consistency, they soften judgment, restore balance, and align the individual with divine flow. Financial blocks are not smashed open. They dissolve as the soul becomes receptive and ordered. Through the sacred language of King David, a person learns to trust, release control, and prepare themselves to receive blessing in a way that brings stability, peace, and lasting good. The Book of Psalms is not merely a collection of poetic prayers, but a precise spiritual system designed to realign a person with divine mercy and sustenance. And this is why Rabbi Eliyahu, who emphasizes its power in removing financial blocks. King David composed Psalms while navigating extreme contrasts: poverty and royalty, danger and safety, isolation and leadership. Because these words were born from real struggle and unwavering faith, they carry an energy that transcends time. When a person recites a psalm today, they are not borrowing someone else's prayer. They are stepping into a living current of trust that has sustained countless souls through uncertainty, including financial hardship. Money-related stress often activates inner turbulence. Fear of lack, pressure to survive, and shame around debt can cloud judgment and weaken spiritual sensitivity. Rabbi Eliyahu, who teaches that when the soul is agitated, blessing has no place to settle. Psalms calm this turbulence at its root. The words do not argue with fear, they replace it. As the psalm is spoken, the nervous urgency softens, and the soul remembers that sustenance has always come from a higher source than human calculation alone. This remembrance is not passive, it is stabilizing. A stable inner world creates stability in the outer world. In Jewish wisdom, divine mercy flows when harsh judgment is softened. Financial blocks are often accompanied by inner judgment, self-criticism, comparison with others, or resentment toward life itself. These states constrict the heart. Psalms open it. They express vulnerability without despair and confidence without arrogance. When a person recites them sincerely, they learn how to ask without demanding and trust without surrendering responsibility. This balanced posture is essential for financial flow because it prevents both recklessness and paralysis. Rabbi Eliyahu, who explains that the sacred language of Psalms carries intention beyond translation. Even when a person does not fully grasp every word, the sincerity of the recitation matters. The soul understands what the mind may not. This is why Psalms have been recited for generations in moments of scarcity. They bypass mental resistance and work directly on the heart. When the heart shifts, behavior shifts, spending becomes wiser. Choices become clearer, relationships improve. These changes may seem unrelated to money at first, but they are often the very channels through which financial improvement arrives. Another reason Psalms are effective is that they restore humility. Financial struggle can inflate ego through desperation or collapse it through hopelessness. Both extremes block blessing. Psalms gently return a person to humility, not humiliation, but clarity. Humility recognizes effort while acknowledging dependence on divine guidance. A humble person is teachable, adaptable, and open to unexpected solutions. This openness attracts opportunity. Pride resists help. Humility welcomes it. Consistency in recitation is emphasized because spiritual alignment deepens gradually. One sincere moment can uplift, but sustained practice transforms. Rabbi Eliyahu, who teaches that daily psalms create spiritual order, and order attracts sustenance, chaos repels it. When a person commits to regular recitation, they demonstrate readiness for stability. This readiness is often what heaven waits for. Financial blessing is not only about receiving, it is about maintaining. Psalms prepare a person to hold blessing without anxiety, misuse, or loss. Over time, the recitation of Psalms reshapes identity. A person stops seeing themselves as unlucky or blocked and begins to see themselves as guided. This shift is subtle but powerful. People who feel guided make different decisions. They are less reactive, less impulsive, and more patient. They recognize that delays are sometimes protection, and that redirection can be mercy. This mindset prevents many financial mistakes that come from panic or comparison. Gratitude naturally emerges from this practice. Many psalms thank God even before relief appears. This teaches the soul to trust outcomes not yet visible. Gratitude is not denial of struggle, it is affirmation of support. Rabbi Eliyahu, who teaches that gratitude expands spiritual capacity. A grateful vessel can receive more because it does not cling. It appreciates, uses wisely, and lets blessings circulate rather than stagnate. Money flows towards such vessels because it is not trapped by fear. In conclusion, the second key point reveals that Psalms function as a living spiritual mechanism that opens channels of mercy and sustenance by calming fear, softening judgment, restoring humility, and cultivating trust. Financial blocks dissolve not through force but through alignment. When a person recites Psalms with sincerity and consistency, they become internally ordered and spiritually receptive. In that state, blessing finds its place naturally, arriving not only as money, but as clarity, stability, and peace that allows financial growth to endure. True financial breakthrough begins with inner alignment, because fear, despair, resentment, and feelings of unworthiness silently block the flow of blessing long before any external obstacle appears. Rabbi Eliyahu, who teaches that money responds not only to action, but to emotional and spiritual posture. A person may be capable, intelligent, and hardworking, yet still experience stagnation because their inner world is filled with tension and self-doubt. These states are not harmless thoughts. They shape reality by narrowing perception, weakening confidence, and closing the heart to opportunity. When the heart is closed, even blessings that arrive cannot stay. Fear is one of the strongest financial blockers. It creates urgency without wisdom and action without clarity. When a person is afraid of not having enough, they tend to make decisions based on survival rather than purpose. Rabbi Eliyahu, who explains that fear sends a subtle message of mistrust, as if saying that divine support is unreliable, This does not bring punishment, but it creates misalignment. Fear compresses the soul, and a compressed soul cannot receive expansion. Psalms are prescribed because they gently dissolve fear without denial. They replace panic with remembrance and urgency with patience. Despair is another silent blocker. Unlike fear, which is restless, despair is heavy and paralyzing. A person in despair may continue working, but without expectation. They stop believing that improvement is possible. This belief becomes self-fulfilling. Opportunities are ignored, help is refused, and effort becomes mechanical. Rabbi Eliyahu, who teaches that despair is not humility, it is forgetfulness. It forgets that transformation often arrives gradually and unexpectedly. Psalms reintroduce hope in a realistic way. They do not promise ease, but they restore the belief that struggle has meaning and direction. Resentment toward others is a hidden but powerful blockage. When a person compares their situation to someone else's success, bitterness can arise. This bitterness tightens the heart. Rabbi Eliyahu, who warns that blessing cannot enter a heart that is occupied by resentment because there is no space. Psalms cleanse this emotional congestion. They redirect focus from comparison to connection. When a person stops measuring their worth against others, their energy returns inward, where growth actually begins. Feelings of unworthiness are among the most damaging financial barriers. Many people subconsciously believe they are not meant to succeed, or that abundance is reserved for others. These beliefs often originate from past failures, criticism, or guilt. Rabbi Eliyahu, who teaches that money avoids places where it is expected to cause shame or self-destruction. Psalms heal this by reaffirming the soul's value. When you speak the words of King David, you align yourself with a tradition that acknowledges human weakness while affirming divine closeness. This balance restores self-respect, which is essential for financial stability. Inner alignment also affects patience. A misaligned person wants immediate relief and often sacrifices long-term benefit for short-term comfort. Rabbi Eliyahu, who explains that impatience is a form of mistrust, Psalms train the soul to wait without anxiety. This does not delay blessing, it prepares it. Many financial losses occur not from lack of opportunity, but from rushing into the wrong one. A calm soul recognizes timing. Timing is as important as effort. As inner alignment improves, perception changes. Problems no longer feel like walls but like signals. A rejected proposal may prevent a greater loss. A delay may create room for a better opportunity. This perspective reduces emotional exhaustion and preserves energy. Rabbi Eliyahu, who teaches that sustained energy is essential for prosperity. Burnout is not noble, it is a sign of imbalance. Psalms restore emotional equilibrium, allowing effort to be sustained without collapse. Another effect of alignment is integrity. When fear and resentment fade, a person is more likely to act ethically and responsibly. This builds trust with others, which is a crucial but overlooked factor in financial growth. People are drawn to those who are calm, confident, and consistent. These qualities are spiritual before they are social. Psalms cultivate them internally, and the external world responds accordingly. Over time, aligned individuals develop resilience. Financial challenges no longer define their identity. Setbacks become temporary experiences rather than permanent labels. This resilience prevents destructive cycles of self-sabotage. Rabbi Eliyahu, who teaches that heaven assists those who do not abandon themselves. Psalms help a person remain connected to their worth even in difficult seasons. In conclusion, the third key point reveals that financial flow is deeply connected to inner alignment. Fear, despair, resentment, and unworthiness act as invisible barriers that no amount of effort alone can overcome. Through sincere and consistent recitation of Psalms, these emotional and spiritual obstacles soften and dissolve. As the heart opens, trust returns, patience deepens and self-respect is restored. In this aligned state, blessing is no longer resisted. It enters naturally, grows steadily, and brings not only financial improvement but emotional peace and lasting stability. Reciting a psalm slowly and mindfully, with full presence and faith, transforms anxiety into trust, and this inner shift is what allows clarity, opportunity, and guidance to emerge naturally. Rabbi Eliyahu, who teaches that the pace and awareness with which a psalm is recited matters as much as the words themselves. Many people rush through prayers while their minds are scattered, filled with worry about bills, deadlines, and future uncertainty. In that state, the lips speak, but the heart remains closed. A closed heart cannot receive guidance, and without guidance, even sincere effort becomes inefficient and draining. Anxiety is one of the most common financial burdens. It creates constant mental noise, making it difficult to focus or think creatively. A person consumed by anxiety may work harder than anyone else, yet their decisions are reactive rather than inspired. Rabbi Eliyahu, who explains that anxiety fragments attention. When attention is fragmented, opportunities go unnoticed. Psalms slow the internal tempo. When recited deliberately, each word becomes an anchor, pulling the mind out of fear and into the present moment. In presence, fear loses its grip. Mindful recitation is an act of surrender, but not weakness. It is the willingness to pause and admit that worry has not produced results. This pause creates space for trust. Trust does not mean certainty of outcome. It means confidence in guidance. When a person trusts, they stop forcing solutions and start listening. This listening often reveals subtle insights, an idea to contact someone, a realization about a repeated mistake, or the courage to change direction. These insights rarely appear in a frantic mind. Faith deepens when a psalm is recited with awareness of its meaning and origin. These words were spoken by King David in moments of danger and instability. He did not wait for peace to pray, he prayed to create peace. Rabbi Eliyahu, who emphasizes that when a person recites psalms with faith, they are joining a lineage of trust that transcends circumstance. This connection reassures the soul that uncertainty is not abandonment. From this reassurance, calm strength emerges. Clarity is one of the first signs that anxiety is dissolving. Clarity does not remove challenges, but it makes them manageable. A clear mind prioritizes effectively and avoids unnecessary conflict. Financial stress often leads to overcommitment, poor planning, or avoidance. When clarity returns, a person sees what truly requires action and what can be released. This discernment conserves energy and improves outcomes. Rabbi Eliyahu, who teaches that blessing flows where there is clarity because clarity prevents waste. Another transformation that occurs through mindful recitation is the restoration of self-trust. Anxiety erodes confidence, causing people to doubt their own judgment. Psalms rebuild this trust by reconnecting the individual to inner stability. When a person feels anchored, they are more decisive and less swayed by external pressure. This stability attracts collaboration and respect, both of which are essential for financial progress. Presence during recitation also cultivates patience. In a culture that glorifies speed, patience is often misunderstood as passivity. Rabbi Eliyahu, who teaches that patience is active trust, it allows processes to unfold fully without interference. Many financial setbacks occur because people act prematurely out of fear. A patient person waits not because they are inactive, but because they are attentive. Psalms train the soul to wait without agitation, making timing a strength rather than a liability. Faith reshapes expectations. Instead of demanding immediate results, the person begins to value alignment over outcome. This shift paradoxically accelerates progress. When pressure is removed, creativity increases. When desperation fades, opportunities appear. Rabbi Eliyahu, who explains that heaven responds to calm confidence more readily than to panic. A person who recites psalms with faith signals readiness to receive wisely. Over time, mindful recitation becomes a daily reset. Each session clears accumulated stress and recenters intention. This consistency prevents anxiety from building to destructive levels. Financial growth is not only about income, it is about sustainability. A person who constantly lives in stress cannot sustain success. Psalms protect the nervous system as much as the spirit, creating a foundation for long-term stability. The transformation is subtle but profound. Others may notice increased calm, improved communication, and better decision-making. These external changes often lead to new opportunities, even if the person does not actively seek them. Rabbi Eliyahu, who teaches that when inner resistance dissolves, life responds with movement. In conclusion, the fourth key point reveals that slow, mindful, and faithful recitation of Psalms converts anxiety into trust, and trust opens the door to clarity and guidance. By quieting the mind and anchoring the heart, this practice allows a person to act from wisdom rather than fear. In that state, decisions improve, opportunities become visible, and financial progress unfolds naturally, supported by calm confidence and spiritual alignment. Consistency is essential because daily recitation builds a spiritual vessel strong enough to hold lasting abundance rather than temporary or unstable financial gain. Rabbi Eliyahu, who teaches that many people do experience moments of financial relief, but those moments fade because the inner structure needed to sustain blessing was never developed. A sudden opportunity, an unexpected payment, or a short period of success can arrive, but without spiritual consistency, it often brings stress, fear of loss, or careless decisions. The issue is not the arrival of money, but the ability to keep it with peace and responsibility. In Jewish wisdom, a vessel is not created in a moment. It is formed through repetition, discipline, and intention. Daily recitation of Psalms shapes the soul gradually, strengthening patience, humility, and trust. These qualities are not dramatic, but they are essential for long-term financial stability. Rabbi Eliyahu, who explains that blessing looks for reliability. A person who approaches spirituality only in moments of crisis signals instability. Consistency, on the other hand, signals readiness. It shows that faith is not dependent on circumstances. Financial instability is often mirrored by emotional instability. When a person oscillates between hope and despair, confidence and panic, money reflects that fluctuation. Daily Psalms create emotional rhythm. This rhythm calms extremes and centers the soul. Over time, this steadiness influences behaviors. Spending becomes more thoughtful, planning becomes more realistic, and reactions to stress become measured. These behavioral shifts may appear ordinary, but they are the foundation of financial health. Rabbi Eliyahu, who emphasizes that consistency transforms trust from a concept into a habit. Trust practiced daily becomes natural. When trust is natural, fear no longer dictates decisions. A person who trusts does not chase every opportunity nor avoid necessary risks. They discern. Discernment protects against loss. Many financial setbacks are not caused by lack of opportunity, but by poor judgment under pressure. Psalms practiced consistently train the mind to remain calm under pressure, preserving clarity when it matters most. Another important aspect of consistency is identity. Sporadic prayer treats faith as a tool. Consistent prayer makes faith an identity. When a person sees themselves as someone who aligns daily with divine guidance, their self-image changes. They begin to act in accordance with that identity. Integrity strengthens. Short-term temptations lose their appeal. Rabbi Eliyahu, who teaches that money stays with those who respect it, and respect is cultivated through inner discipline. Daily recitation also creates spiritual protection. Sudden financial gain without spiritual grounding can attract envy, misuse, or internal conflict. Consistency builds resilience. It prepares the person emotionally and spiritually to handle increase without imbalance. This is why some blessings are delayed. It is not denial, it is preparation. Heaven waits until the vessel is strong enough. Psalms strengthen the vessel quietly, without force. Consistency also counters entitlement. A person who prays daily understands that sustenance is renewed continuously, not guaranteed automatically. This awareness prevents arrogance and promotes gratitude. Gratitude stabilizes abundance. A grateful person manages resources with care and foresight. Rabbi Eliyahu, who teaches that gratitude is the seal that preserves blessing. Without it, even large sums can vanish. Over time, daily recitation requires perception of time. Instead of seeking instant results, the person values progress. They understand that growth compounds. This mindset aligns perfectly with financial success, which rarely arrives overnight. Patience becomes a strength rather than a frustration. A patient person does not sabotage long-term benefit for short-term relief. Another subtle effect of consistency is confidence without pressure. A person who practices daily does not feel the need to prove faith through extreme actions. Their calm confidence attracts cooperation and trust from others. People prefer to work with those who are steady and reliable. These social effects often translate directly into financial opportunities, partnerships, and support. In conclusion, the fifth key point shows that consistency in reciting Psalms is what transforms temporary relief into lasting abundance. Daily alignment builds a strong, stable vessel capable of holding blessing with peace and wisdom. Through repetition, trust becomes natural, judgment improves, and emotional balance is restored. When the vessel is ready, blessing remains. Financial growth becomes sustainable, calm, and purposeful, rooted not in urgency, but in steady spiritual strength. Gratitude after recitation expands the capacity to receive, because appreciation opens spiritual channels while complaint, impatience, and entitlement quietly constrict them. Rabbi Eliyahu, who teaches that many people pray sincerely and even recite Psalms correctly, yet they close the channel immediately afterward through negativity, frustration, or constant focus on what is still missing. Gratitude is not an optional extra. It is the seal that allows blessing to remain. Without gratitude, even sincere prayer can produce only temporary relief rather than lasting change. Gratitude works on a deep spiritual level because it shifts the soul from lack consciousness to abundance consciousness. When a person finishes reciting a psalm and immediately thinks nothing has changed, they reinforce the belief that they are still blocked. That belief itself becomes a barrier. Rabbi Eliyahu, who explains that heaven responds not only to words but to inner posture. Gratitude signals trust. It says, I recognize what has already been given, even if the full picture has not yet appeared. This recognition creates expansion within the soul. Many people misunderstand gratitude, thinking it means pretending everything is fine when it is not. Rabbi Eliyahu, who strongly rejects this idea, gratitude does not deny struggle, it acknowledges support within struggle. A person can say, I am still facing financial pressure, and I am grateful that I have breath, awareness, and the ability to ask for guidance. This honesty combined with appreciation creates alignment. Denial blocks growth, resentment blocks flow, gratitude clears both. Complaint is one of the strongest financial blockers because it reinforces judgment. When a person complains constantly, they are unconsciously declaring that what they have received is insufficient or unfair. This attitude contracts the vessel. Rabbi Eliyahu, who teaches that money avoids places where it is resented, even if more arrives, it will not stay. Gratitude, by contrast, creates a welcoming environment. It communicates readiness to handle increase responsibly. Impatience is another hidden obstacle. After prayer, many people demand immediate results. When results do not appear quickly, disappointment turns into doubt. Doubt erodes trust, and trust is the very foundation of blessing. Gratitude neutralizes impatience. It teaches the soul to value process over speed. Rabbi Eliyahu, who explains that some blessings unfold gradually because they require inner maturity. Gratitude accelerates this maturity by calming urgency. Gratitude also reshapes perception. A person who practices gratitude regularly begins to notice subtle forms of support that were previously overlooked. A helpful conversation, a small opportunity, a moment of clarity, these are often early signs of larger change. When noticed and appreciated, they grow. When ignored, they fade. Rabbi Eliyahu, who teaches that blessing grows where it is acknowledged. Another powerful effect of gratitude is emotional stability. Financial stress often produces mood swings, irritability, and withdrawal. Gratitude stabilizes emotion by anchoring attention in what is working rather than what is failing. This stability improves relationships, and relationships are one of the primary channels through which financial opportunities arise. People are naturally drawn to those who are appreciative and grounded. In this way, gratitude has both spiritual and practical impact. Gratitude also prevents self-sabotage. Many people unconsciously fear success because they associate it with pressure, loss, or responsibility. When gratitude is practiced consistently, success is reframed as a gift rather than a burden. This reframing allows a person to accept growth without fear. Rabbi Eliyahu, who teaches that blessing avoids those who fear it. Gratitude dissolves that fear. Another dimension of gratitude is humility. Gratitude reminds a person that they are not self-sufficient, but supported. This humility keeps ego in balance. Ego-driven financial growth is often unstable because it relies on constant validation. Humble growth is stable because it is rooted in purpose. Psalms cultivate humility and gratitude completes it. Together, they form a vessel that can hold abundance without corruption. Over time, gratitude transforms identity. A person stops seeing themselves as deprived or unlucky and begins to see themselves as cared for and guided. This identity shift changes behavior. Decisions become more thoughtful. Risks become calculated rather than reckless. Saving, giving, and investing are approached with wisdom rather than fear. These practical changes are natural outcomes of a grateful mindset. Rabbi Eliyahu, who emphasizes that gratitude should be expressed verbally after reciting a psalm, even if only briefly. Words solidify intention. Saying thank you for what I have and for what is coming in the right time reinforces trust and alignment. This simple act protects the spiritual work that was just done. In conclusion, the sixth key point reveals that gratitude is not merely a positive attitude, but a spiritual force that expands the capacity to receive and sustain blessing. After reciting psalms, gratitude seals the channel, neutralizes impatience, dissolves complaint, and stabilizes emotion. Through appreciation, the soul becomes spacious rather than constricted, welcoming rather than resistant. In that expanded state, financial blessing can enter calmly, grow steadily, and remain with peace, purpose, and lasting benefit. Financial delays are not punishment but divine timing, ensuring that when blessing arrives, it brings peace, stability, and protection rather than stress, loss, or regret. Rabbi Eliyahu, who teaches that one of the greatest misunderstandings about money is the belief that delay means rejection. When people struggle financially for long periods, they often internalize the idea that they are being denied, ignored, or judged. This belief creates despair and bitterness, which further blocks flow. In reality, many delays exist to protect the person from receiving something they are not yet prepared to hold. Divine timing operates with a broader vision than human urgency. A person sees only immediate needs, while heaven sees long-term impact. Rabbi Eliyahu, who explains that sudden financial gain without emotional or spiritual readiness can be destructive. It can amplify fear, awaken greed, strain relationships, or create reckless behavior. Delays allow the soul to mature, refine intention, and develop the inner stability required to manage increase responsibly. This preparation is mercy, not deprivation. One of the hidden dangers of early blessing is attachment. When money arrives before trust is established, it often becomes a source of anxiety rather than security. A person clings to it, fears losing it, or bases their identity on it. This attachment turns blessing into burden. Rabbi Eliyahu, who teaches that money should serve peace, not replace it. Divine timing ensures that when blessing comes, it enhances life instead of dominating it. Delays also protect against misalignment. Many opportunities appear attractive, but are not aligned with a person's purpose or values. Financial desperation can cause people to accept harmful partnerships, unethical work, or unsustainable paths. Divine delay creates space for discernment. Through psalms and reflection, a person develops the clarity to recognize which doors should remain closed. A closed door is often as valuable as an open one. Another reason for delay is redirection. What a person thinks they want may not be what they truly need. Rabbi Eliyahu, who teaches that heaven often reroutes blessing through unexpected channels. A rejected application may lead to a better opportunity. A failed venture may reveal a hidden talent. Delays allow these redirections to occur without forcing outcomes prematurely. Trusting timing prevents wasted effort and emotional burnout. Delays also cultivate patience, a trait essential for financial sustainability. Patience is not passive waiting, it is active endurance with faith. A patient person can withstand fluctuations without panic. They are less likely to overspend during good times or despair during lean times. This emotional regulation preserves wealth. Rabbi Eliyahu, who explains that patience is a spiritual container. Without it, blessing leaks out through impulsive decisions. Many people only measure success by speed. However, speed often sacrifices foundation. Divine timing prioritizes depth over immediacy. A slowly built structure stands longer than one erected hastily. Financial growth guided by timing tends to be stable, ethical, and aligned with personal values. This type of success may not impress others quickly, but it brings inner peace and long-term security. Delays also deepen gratitude. When a person has waited, they appreciate more. This appreciation changes how money is used and valued. A grateful person spends wisely, gives generously, and avoids entitlement. Rabbi Eliyahu, who teaches that gratitude preserves blessing, those who have waited are less likely to waste what arrives. Divine timing ensures that appreciation is present when abundance appears. Another hidden benefit of delay is resilience. A person who has navigated scarcity develops strength, creativity, and empathy. These qualities are invaluable when managing abundance. They prevent arrogance and isolation. Resilient individuals understand that circumstances change and remain grounded regardless of external conditions. This groundedness attracts trust and cooperation from others, which further supports financial stability. Divine timing also aligns blessing with purpose. Money that arrives at the right time often supports not only personal comfort but meaningful contribution. Rabbi Eliyahu, who teaches that true prosperity includes the ability to help others without harming oneself. Delays refine intention so that when money comes, it is used constructively rather than destructively. Purpose gives blessing direction. In conclusion, the seventh key point reveals that financial delays are not signs of failure or rejection, but expressions of divine wisdom and protection. Through timing, the soul is prepared, values are refined, and stability is established. When blessing arrives in its proper time, it brings peace instead of pressure, security instead of fear, and growth instead of loss. Trusting divine timing transforms waiting from suffering into preparation. ensuring that financial abundance becomes a source of lasting good rather than temporary relief.